we close enough, I think? I'm not sure that one's right. Anyway, I forgot my wristwatch. All right, I'd like to call the regular November meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and please be seated. Janelle, would you please take roll call?
Roger Conlon,
I'm here.
Patricia Back,
Here.
Teresa Bills,
Here.
Jim Christopher,
Here.
Gina Mazzarelli.
Okay, full house. Okay. Everybody received a copy of the minutes. I'm sorry, the agenda for today's meeting. And if so, are there any questions or comments or modifications you want to today's agenda? It looked okay to me.
Yeah, looks fine.
Okay, if not, a motion would be in order to approve.
I'll move to approve the agenda for our meeting today, November 8th, 2021.
Okay, and is there a second?
Excuse me, I would be happy to second.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, okay. Next is the minutes from the October 12th meeting, and I only had two, they're little typos, but I just think it should be corrected. On page 2, under item B, it said approved flagpole, and then it says that we're buying a flag for the fire department, a large one, not a pole, so I just crossed pole off on that. And then on page 3, where it said I was talking about the car show, there were 70 cars in the cruise, but 170 at the show. Okay,
Oh, wow.
Okay.
okay, they're just little changes, that's all. That's all I have for the minutes. Are there any other questions or comments on the minutes for the October 12th
Real
meeting?
quick, I'm so sorry about, so B, that's the company.
Yeah,
So
flagpoles.
would you like it to reflect?
Oh.
different?
I'm sorry, I thought you were saying approve the flagpole and then in the explanation said that.
No, the
You
name of
can
the
leave it the
company
way it is then.
The name of the company is
Yeah.
Flagpoles, et cetera.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
That's okay, could you just real quick on page 3, you said the car show. was-
Under supervisor, there were 70 cars in the cruise and 170 at the show. Thank you. Thanks for cleaning that up on the flagpole. I didn't realize that was the name of the company. Are there any other questions or comments on the minutes for the October 12th meeting?
No.
If not, a motion would be in order to approve with the one modification.
I'll motion to approve the minutes with the one amendment.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
No.
If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're done with that. Next, we move to financials. And Patty, do you have any?
Well, are we gonna do the
Oh, what?
fire board minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Fireboard. I completely forgot it. I didn't have anything on that one. Thank
You
you.
didn't have them?
No, I forgot to mention.
Oh.
So,
Here, you can.
there any questions for the fire board minutes for October 12th as well? I apologize.
No. they're at the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, if not, a motion would be in order to approve as submitted.
I'll make a motion that we approve the fire board minutes from October 12th as submitted.
Okay, so is there a second to that? Gina, okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, now we're done with the agendas. Thank you. Moving to financials, first item is budget amendments. Patty?
Yes, I thought I had covered these pretty well, but I looked through the other day. I see in zoning board of appeals, we're needing some funds in there. So I'm gonna make a motion to move 1,500 out of capital outlay reserve into the zoning board of appeals. I'm thinking that's due to the fact that they've met more than had been planned or had been going on in the past. Also, there had been some education that they have taken, and we did not have a line for education, so I did take it out of there.
Okay,
Okay,
is that the only changes?
that's the only one I have. Yep.
Okay, motion would be in order then to approve it subject to that modification.
Yep.
I will I will support or make a motion to move $1,500 into the BZA account from capital outlay.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, Janelle, would you take a roll call, please?
DePaul,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Rosarelli.
Yes.
Okay. Patty, you wanna do budget?
Yeah, we have
Payable?
accounts payable. The 101 account, which is the general fund, $14,282.95 for accounts payables. Out of the 249, which I believe was a refund, someone had applied for permits and then didn't go through and had written a request to get it back within the proper amount of time. So that was $345. And 701 was $3,966.14. And again, that's the account where we hang on to funds that go back for site plans and such. So the total for general 101, 249, and 709 for the month was $18,594.09. And ooh, we were running neck and neck with fire this month. 206, their amount in accounts payable was $18,626.23.
But let the
23
record
cents.
note, you still won.
You
Steve.
still won. So I motion to accept the accounts payable as submitted.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, Janelle, you want to take a roll call on it?
Beck,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Rosarelli,
Yes.
DePalma.
Yes. Okay,
And then we need to do the financial reports, which is the revenue and expense. If anybody else, you could go ahead with that. And I don't know if anybody else saw anything else with the revenue
I
and
was good.
expenses that were run. Somebody wants to make a motion to,
It would be all the rest of these. So,
well, yeah, basically the revenue and expense, Teresa, those are pretty much the financials. But they're, you know,
do you want to just approve them as submitted?
yeah,
Okay.
they could just be approved just a minute. I can make that
That
motion,
motion?
I
actually.
do have one little comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
On page 2. It is in the treasurer's section. So there was $40 that was a check that was written for the Oakland County Treasurers Association quarterly meeting that Angela and I were gonna go to, but we decided not to. And so that is actually being used for 2022 dues. So I didn't know, like, if you could just change the line item, how that would work. To go from professional development to dues and subscriptions. Because that $40, rather than them send it back to us, they said they would just put it towards our dues for
Yeah,
next year.
yeah.
You
that's
probably don't
right.
have to amend the budget, though.
No,
You could just-
that-
That's just
No, that's
everything-
just part of
a data.
the revenue and
yeah.
expenditure.
Right.
report.
Right, it can just, it's all still in the same category under treasurer,
Okay,
so, you know,
Okay.
yeah, all same department. So it doesn't really need to be moved,
okay,
so,
just wanted to,
and you have money still in all of those, plenty.
I didn't know if I needed to
Yeah,
put
bring
it
it up or
to a
not.
different
Yeah,
line
no,
item. Okay,
no.
all righty.
Okay, that's it for the reports.
Somebody wanna, do you want me to motion? I motion to accept the revenue and expenditure report as submitted with the budget amendment that's already been approved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Not actually approving any money, we're just accepting the report. So
Right.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Next is the investment report, Teresa.
Just October 31st, balances are all on there.
Yeah, they look pretty good
and,
too.
Nothing, nothing out of the ordinary.
No, it's good to me. Okay. Presentations, we have nothing tonight. public hearing. We have one item, that's community development block grant for 2022. Patty, do you want to take care of that?
Well, first we have to hold a
Oh,
public
hold the
meeting.
public meeting for
So if
community
you
development
wanna
for 2022
open.
at 7:10.
So is there anybody who wants to talk on, do we have anybody on?
On Zoom or anyone that wants to make comment on?
Is there a set money amount?
Yeah, $7,600.22. Which is quite low,
How much is it again?
$7,622.
Any idea why it's so much lower this year?
It's been down.
It's been down?
Yes.
Okay.
It has been down. I'm not sure.
Huh.
So basically, the way it works is there's really only enough there to do one project. And last year we did Haven,
Mhm.
and this year I'm going to suggest we do the mobile home parks. They're revamping them yet, and they give it, it goes there. There isn't enough to do much else. I've talked to CDBG about it, and what do? Put it towards one project. They said that's all you can do. I mean, some of the community, we used to get what, 11, 14?
Right.
Yeah.
We used to get plenty to do, 2 decent projects. We just aren't getting that anymore. Could be the population was down, that type of a thing.
It's based on what percentage are needy, right?
Yeah,
And then we lost all of our low and moderate income
Income.
status just about on that whole township.
yeah. That's where. it
Well, I
comes
suppose
from.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, in some instances, yes, and other, but we still are helping those people that need it by
Mhm.
going to Haven. It's for battered and abused and that, and mobile home parks for anybody who needs repair that cannot afford it. They go through OSHA to get it, and the money is there for them. So that's a little bit of background on that.
So what is the control if we give it to the mobile home parks? How do they apply for it?
OSHA distributes it
Okay.
down at through the county,
Okay.
the home improvement.
People that might have their furnace went bad. or
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Roof or something like that.
Yeah, that type of thing.
So they
For the
take
mobile
care of
home
all
parks.
of that. Like,
Mhm.
we don't have
Right.
our hands in any of that. We wouldn't know
No.
who the recipients were or anything, right?
Right. Yeah. So,
If there are no other comments, are there any on the Zoom?
I see one person, but.
But they're not raising their hand. Okay. Well, do you have anything else before we close the public hearing?
I don't,
Okay.
anybody else? Anything?
Okay, well, we'll close the public hearing at, I guess about 7:13, it looks like. Okay, do you want to make any motion for the use of those funds?
Yes, and so my motion is to approve the community development block grant, the CDBG program year 2022 application to be used in the approximate amount of $7,622 toward repairs of those in need to Groveland Manor and the Oak Hill Mobile Home Parks, to be watched over and distributed through OLSHA, with Robert DePalma being the highest elected official, will sign the conflict of interest certification and authorize the clerk to execute all documents, agreements, or contracts to submit the application to Oakland County Community and Home Development Division. I have that written down. You can.
Yeah, after Rob to come.
I know, you have to get all that in there, and they come back to you and say,
Patty made that well-versed
Very good.
announcement. Is there a second
I
to
will
it?
second that, yeah.
Okay.
I have learned.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
No?
If not, why don't we take a roll call vote?
Do that. Bill,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Lizarelli.
Yes.
DePalma.
Yes.
Pat.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, under unfinished business, we have nothing tonight. Under new business, though, we got several items. The first one is listed as discuss the grant administration plan for the sewer resolution. Just to make, kind of bring everybody up to date, because there's been so many meetings and discussions on this sewer project, I'm going to kind of give you the flavor of what I think is happening now. This resolution is to ask us and the three other communities, that's Hadley, Brandon, and the village of Ortonville, to sign the same kind of resolution. And if you recall last month, I think I gave you all a memo that we got from them that it's roughly about $50,000 a community that they need to hire the necessary consultants and people to go ahead and continue to pursue building enough extra capacity in the Genesee Sewer Project, which is going to get built anyway, but they want extra capacity for the north end of Oakland County for our 4 communities. And they have suggested that we could use the money from this Build America Back Better plan, where we're getting $590-some thousand from the federal government. That would qualify for those dollars on it, and they want all 4 communities to do it. As of tonight, 2 or 3 of the communities have already approved it. I told them it was on our agenda tonight, and I didn't anticipate us not approving it. I do think we should do this. The request at this time is for a maximum of just over $50,000 for the consultants they need to continue pursuing the project. But the commissioners, Bob Hoffman and Spice, I think Spice is his name, I think, for Brandon, have talked and introduced a legislation that allows them to potentially try and do 50-50 matches. So while we're suggesting in this resolution, we approve it. And frankly, I think even if we have to approve 50,000 out of that money that we didn't know we were going to get originally, it's an investment for the long-term future of the township to be able to have the ability to do sewers down the road. What the county has done is actually broken the project into about 3 different components. One component is this first effort to try and get now the capacity in Genesee County brought to the county line. Then what they're suggesting is after that's done, we'll take a look and see if it balances and is worth running it down to Grange Hall and Dixie Highway for our Dixie Byway, and whether or not it's worth running it down. I think their plan was to go down Perryville Road to get to M15 and then to the village of Ortonville and down to the couple of lakes on M15. So those would be separate plans that would be done later. But if we don't have any capacity, it's going to be hard to build it in later because they're building the plant for a project in Grand Blanc where they're at capacity or very close to full capacity right now. So the long and the short of it is, this isn't coming out of any of our existing budgeted or surplus dollars. It's in that new money that's coming from Build America Better. It's about 500 and Janelle, you did it for me. Was it 594 or something thousand? This would allocate about a little over 50,000 of it potentially, but I think there's a good shot at getting half of that done by a county match. But they need to know that all 4 communities want to do this first. So I would recommend that we approve the resolution that they sent us, because they sent it to all 4 communities. And they want to have that before they go back to the Board of Commissioners. In essence, the commission seems to be, the county commissioners seem to be softening a bit, if you will, on the idea that, well, if we match money with them, they're more receptive to it. And I think there's a real effort on the part of the Water Resource Department to actually try and get the cost of that capacity expansion potentially picked up by the county. This is to continue pursuing that project. I think we should do it. If we don't, I doubt we're ever going to have any option to bring sewers to Ortonville, Brandon, Groveland, or Hadley beyond what, I mean, we just don't have any now. So I think we should approve it in the language that was submitted by the county. And I know we got that in here somewhere.
Yeah, I have it right here.
Yeah.
I'll take care of this. So
Okay.
I just want to clarify, this is going to be out of the American Rescue Plan.
Yes.
Act money.
It's not coming out of our
50,000,
cash
right.
reserves or anything.
Right.
And my clarification would be, I don't want to make a commitment for people who have a functioning septic system.
Yeah, I've told them from the beginning, I
Okay.
had no intention of taking the few homes we have down the Dixie
Right.
Byway and
And
telling them they had
I'm
to
not
have.
worried about Groveland. This includes all of them. And I know that this has been an ongoing thing in the
Yeah,
village. And I don't want our commitment
it
to
wouldn't.
keep that
That,
argument up again.
that would be, I mean, we don't have any jurisdiction over doing it anyway. That'd be their own decision. if and when this gets to them.
Did they already vote yes on that in the village?
They did put their
Um,
money towards it. It was in the pay, in the.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I
Yeah,
thought
so
that-
Brandon and the village, I think, did it,
Village?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
The
think
village.
Ortonville.
Plenty of capacity.
huh?
The village has plenty of.
No, this village,
Oh,
Ortonville,
okay.
Ortonville.
The village of Orton.
So
Yeah.
I just
And
want,
I think Holly and the village did it.
Right.
Brandon may have done it the other night or is doing it tonight, and we need to do it tonight. So, Hmm?
Yeah.
I heard they're doing.
tonight, yeah, okay.
Brandon,
So what if the sewer project just never like actually comes to fruition? This is
This
just
will
a-
have capacity studying at the county line somewhere down the road, at least it's there. If we
Okay.
don't do this, then there's no incentive for Genesee to build the new facility
Okay.
big enough to even allow it. That's the problem. So
And
it's,
I did notice that it was unanimous. All of the Oakland County
Mhm.
Commissioners
Yeah.
across the board did vote yes on
I have to
it.
say Nash and his people, and Brian Coburn in particular, in the Water Resource Department, have been working very hard to keep this alive. And it's morphing into a different scenario than what we all started with. If you recall, when George and I started the meetings with Genesee, we thought, based on some initial estimates they gave us, we had almost all the money lined up day one.
Mhm.
I have learned as late as Thursday or last Monday it was on our sewer call that the DNR, who was going to put 2 or 2.5 million into it because they've got to replace all of the sewers, the septic systems there.
Yeah.
They said, we're not waiting anymore. We're going in. So you can bet that even after this gets done, for a project to continue down to Grange Hall here on the Dixie Byway, will require some significant cash flow analysis to see if it actually works, because you just basically pulled $2.5 million out of the project, okay? And if the fastener company doesn't go on this and gets their own connection in there, you pull another 2.8 million out there.
Mhm.
So I have said to them in the county repeatedly on numerous occasions, you have to show me how this works without bankrupting the township. And the answer I get is, yeah, we're gonna get to that. They never have. So rest assured, I would never ask you to commit to actually one of the other stages unless somebody showed me how this was going to work and work well. But I do think having the capacity at the county line is an advantage for all of us up here in the north end.
I would agree. And I do want to ask, just to clarify, our residents that are down on Dixie Highway that have septics are not going to be forced to join in at some point in the future at their own expense?
Well, I have said that from the beginning.
Okay.
I have told them, there's no agreement written on anything because there's no sewer line. So
Right.
if and when that project happens, those are the kinds of things that the community has to decide, are they willing to do? And I've said from the beginning, I have very few residents there. Most of them are fairly up in years, seniors. They're probably thinking about going down to Florida someday. And I don't want to tell them they got to buy a brand new sewer connection. And it could cost, a big hunk of money. That's how I've explained it to them.
Okay.
But to your point, if and when the sewer project ever gets down to here, the board here, whoever's here, has to make sure that those kinds of protections are in there for those few people, because I wouldn't want them to be put at a disadvantage like that.
Right.
Most of the connections that we were looking at, frankly, were for future potential businesses on the Dixie Byway, the development of the township's property and the Nenoshi property that's adjacent to it. And frankly, the mobile home park would probably have to hook up within a year or two, because I think they're operating under a failed DNR permit for some time. And I've been told that once a sewer line goes by a mobile home in that status, they usually tell them you got a year or two, you're hooking up. Okay,
Okay.
so it's that kind of thing.
All right. So
did Bob make his motion?
I don't think
No,
so.
we just. Bob went
I'll
as long-
recommend
Okay.
to approve the resolution as submitted by the county,
Okay,
as noted in the board packet, with payment $50,000 coming from our fund.
approximately 50. It was 50 and some odd change. Okay,
And is that like, part of this was that they might offer matching for half of that?
so that's a
Or that's
separate
a separate
resolution
one.
that the board did we need to approve it the way it's written here. And then I think what they'll do is go back to the commissioner, say, now they've all four agreed they want the project to go forward.
Okay.
Can we now apply that other resolution we wrote within the county commissioners
Right.
to see if we can do it on matching funds and get
Okay.
it down to half that? That's our understanding.
Okay, all right,
But either way, none of this is coming out of our,
right.
how would I say, current property taxpayers' revenues, the township's strategic funds or surplus funds or any of that. It's all potentially coming out of that Build America money that we've been trying to scamper with. How can we use it? And I'll talk
Yeah,
about a
the
couple of
ARPA
other
funds.
ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. ARPA.
So, okay, I'll motion that we approve resolution 21. I didn't look the number up. What is the next one? As submitted with $50,361
There's the exact
being
number.
the
yeah.
amount. And also that Robert DePalma is authorized to seek funding for administrative costs of the project. He's the designated community official, authorized to seek funding for administrative costs of the project from the grant for said costs being funded by Oakland County.
Okay.
I'll give you that one too. Can you type faster or what?
I can.
Is there a second to
I'll
that?
second that.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, because it is a large sum of money, Janelle, would you take a roll call, please?
Christopher,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Bath,
Yes.
Okay.
Bills.
Oh.
oh, Bill.
I was like waiting.
Okay. This next item is, you can see a letter came to us late last week or Tuesday. I think I got it in my email Wednesday when I got in. Talking about trying to line up stuff for 2022 and beyond for road projects. And there's also another letter in there from Cadillac Asphalt asking for the same kind of information. This letter would seem to indicate that they think, and Janelle has been doing a good job at setting in on all the ARPA money calls for me. Some of them we do them together. Some I let her do and she fills me in on them, because we're trying to find out what a lot of people have asked. What are the things we can use it for, potentially outside the four categories they originally announced? And for small communities like us, it makes it hard to use it other than the sewer project. Well, they're indicating that they think these projects may be able to be done with some future dollars that are coming down from surface transportation and so forth. So if you see the letter from the county dated October 26th, it's talking about the road graveling program. And the last time they were in here for their annual meeting with all the communities, I had said that typically, when we do a road paving project here, we try to do one on one side of town, and then we try to do one on the other side of town so that nobody feels like they're all being done in one area. And so the next one that I think would probably be the most likely one would be Wildwood, and that would be either from Dixie to McGinnis, or if they were somehow able to get us double the money they did on Barron Road, we might be able to make it all the way up here. And then you would start to have the only primary route north and south through the township, basically 2/3 paved. So then it tells you here that now projects, which when I started were about $600,000 or $700,000, are about $2 million a mile now. So yes. Well, that was 5.5, and that's 2 miles basically. So but I think if you look at the projects when they're done with the surface funding money, they really are done to the absolute best standards, because the federal government won't get you. They will not give you money unless you do it exactly the way they want it, and their standards are by far the highest. So if you've gone through Barron Road now that it's open, or if you looked at it during the construction, I went through, and after that last layer of blacktop went on, that road drains perfect. There were no puddles of water anywhere. And there's a ton of sewer outlets on the side that are tied to drainage that carried away to the swamp areas and stuff. So I guess I would suggest, because this isn't actually committing it, and these projects take a while to get slotted, but if we want to hold our options open, I think we should get back to the road commission and tell them that the next project for us would likely be Wildwood from Dixie to wherever the funding was carried.
What other choices do we have?
Well, they can only use it on primary roads.
Mhm.
So the only other places you could do it, we could do if, and again, I would feel that residents might think we're favoring the north side over the south. The next piece of Groveland Road up to the double curves would probably be another project. Okay, because that's a primary road.
Not Oak Hill.
Or you could try and do Oak Hill, but again, that's got to go through a double 90-degree turn. And the last part of it's in Brandon anyway, and goes through another double 90-degree turn down at that end.
Mhm.
So
That would be from Alice.
yeah, there's
So,
always
yeah.
discussions on the 90-degree turn parts where that road commission kind of likes to soften them up if they can and make them a little more sweepy, so they're less likely to have accidents on them. I just did this because I think we just did this piece here. If we were going to do another one, Wildwood's really the only thing left other than Oak Hill on the south side. I think it's the logical one, at least if we could eventually get, it takes a long time, but eventually get Wildwood, that next piece of Groveland Road, and then the little piece of Van to take it across the county line, you would now have the only primary route in the whole township, north and south, finally paved. And you have Grange Hall from east to west paved. So at least you would have a primary route going north and south, and a primary route all the way going east and west. And then the other two that are Groveland Road and Oak Hill over time could end up being paved. That's kind of what the long-term plan is for the whole township anyway. You can only use this money on primary roads. I remember people were saying, why don't they, somebody said, why don't they pave Hadley Road? My answer was because it's not in Groveland Township. We usually don't do other people's roads. Yeah. Huh?
It'd be nice to have.
Yeah, it would be nice. And the other roads that are there, any of the other roads you could think of that are not, you can tell they're not wide like a primary road. The feds will not put the money in.
So Jim wants Brent.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah, that's not even wide enough to be a road.
So hurt. So Wildwood is almost, I'm not putting words in it, it's somewhat strategic too for the fire department.
Well, it's north and south and, excuse me.
We go on dirt roads.
Yeah, I know.
But I think about some of the roads we get complaints on too.
Mhm.
And in the case of Wildwood, if you remember, some people were complaining because parts of Wildwood have a big tree canopy and some parts of Wildwood don't have any. Well, when they chloride the roads, if you've got a tree canopy, the chloride holds up fairly well. If you've got a barren section with no tree canopy, when the sun and the hot summer comes, those pieces of the road dry out way before the rest, and people will come. I can't think of her name, but the one lady kept on saying, they're not chloriding their road enough, it's dusty again. It's because there's no tree canopy on that piece.
Mhm.
And so they can't go out, they don't go and, re-chloride roads every day because it's sunny and there's no tree canopy. You just end up with parts of it being very dusty in the interim. So I think starting from Dixie, where it's paved, up to at least McGinnis would probably be one project. And unless they got double the money like they did on Barron Road for us, you would have to do Wildwood in two pieces anyway. And then probably up through the double curves of Groveland would be a subsequent project in another year. And then Van to the county line would be another project. And then you would start deciding, do you go down all the way on Groveland Road, because the traffic on the west side of Groveland Road is extremely light the farther down you go. And the very last piece of Groveland Road's not even in Groveland, it's in Hadley, and they have absolutely nobody living on it. So the likelihood of that road being paved all the way down to Dixie, I think, is almost non-existent. You'd probably instead start to look at the Oak Hill sections then and see if it could slowly work its way down to Brandon, where they might want to do it on the other end. But again, we're talking years of paving to get that much done. Okay.
Yeah, because it looks like Oak Hill Road is already gonna get paved from Ellis to M15.
Mhm.
These 4 things are slated to actually get done.
Well, they're these come from the meetings with the road commission about what would you like to do eventually?
Right, they say they've received local agency financial commitment for those four things.
Okay.
You know,
And if they've got the money when that comes in, yeah, that could be.
oh, I see what you're saying. Well, so if we look at these little, you know,
That's
item
you.
number 1 down below, where it says, we invite you to submit these or other segments of gravel roads within your community you'd like to see considered. Documentation of the following is required along with your request. A commitment by your community to fully support the project, which I see they've listed here as 10%, right?
Mhm.
Including an indication that there's positive public opinion towards the project. So, I mean,
Well, it's,
I don't
those are the
know
roads
what-
that have been on the paving project for the entire time I've been. here.
okay,
Yeah,
I mean, at some point, was there public
well, I don't know.
input? And so.
We have
I mean,
had
I don't know.
meetings with the road commission and talked about it, but nobody ever comes because they don't know when it's gonna happen or anything.
Okay,
But are you asking me if there's a meeting? I don't recall one per se for that. The board looks at them and decides at the public meeting, and we have on the other ones.
okay,
These were the projects we think we should do, and people had an opportunity to comment on it. And those are the roads we got done.
okay,
But, and again, our choices are limited. It's either a primary road or you don't get any funding at all.
sure. So this doesn't commit us to anything. This just says, here's what we think we may wish to
Because
do
what
in
would
the
happen if
future.
it came up and we didn't have the money? We might say, well, we don't have the money this week. Can you, this happens all the time on the committee.
Okay,
We need you to back it off. Well, let Pontiac have their project next or somebody else, or Brandon can have theirs, or somebody move it up ahead of ours and move ours back a year or two. We need more time to get it. So
Isn't that how we got Barron Road money? Is somebody didn't spend theirs? So we
that,
got it
we
cheaper?
actually had said we were gonna do a piece of Barron, really just from Perryville to Grange Hall. Then one of the counties up north said, I can't use my federal aid money. So Oakland County goes up to them and says, I'll give you 80 cents on the dollar if you give it all to me. And that's how we got the rest of the money to do the whole rest of the project. So, but that's a shot in the dark right now. We don't know how many times that'll happen. It's happened before. That's the first time it happened for us. And could it happen again on Wildwood? I suppose it could, but it would be presumptive to me to.
but we're
assume
not
that
counting
might-
on that.
No.
Um,
And before any of this happens, there's a whole estimating deal and a time frame that happens. Like I said, most projects that get done take 4 or 5 years from the day I first mention it at a surface funding meeting to the time we actually get close to a paving truck showing up for the year that they worked on the road. So that's what's gonna happen. 5 to 7 years, yeah. I've had the shortest is when something happens and it just falls into place, right? You might get it in 5, but 7's what the first couple took. So people think this just happens one day. You call up the truck and the asphalt guy shows up the next day, but it doesn't happen like that at all. It's a very time-consuming process, and a lot of the projects along the way, because some of the big communities spend significantly larger amounts of money that they get for like widening boulevards in Pontiac or Auburn Hills, those will get bumped 2 or 3 or 4 times. And then they'll take the money that was used on that one and use it to plug a hole in another one. And it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube process, for lack of a better phrase. It all comes out at the end and somebody in the road commission figures out how to make it balance before we're all done.
so this little thing here from Cadillac Asphalt, this really doesn't have anything to do with this. This is just sort of an extra.
Well, he's just asking what we might do, and I think, we could. They're telling us they're interested in doing it, if they
Oh.
can. I think that's really what they're saying, and so they're hoping if they can say, yeah, we got a project, we'd probably be interested in looking at that. You see, the part of this is where they're starting to say the rescue plan might be able to be used for COVID-19. This is really saying, we think there's some federal money. Are you still interested in these projects? That's kind of the first step. This is what
Okay.
happens when I go to the surface funding committee for the township.
Okay,
Okay, Cadillac is saying, we think they're going to start freeing up some surface funding money. Now, that brings a good question or point that needs to be brought up here. We need to start thinking about a couple of things because, one, I don't believe the sewer project's coming down the road in the next year or two, okay? And we had a lot of money set aside for that, okay? I think we should take some of those dollars and put them to work for the township. So I want you to be thinking about a couple of things. One would be, if we can actually use it for road paving, we could pay for our project to do another 2 miles of road out of that ARPA money, like we did Barron, okay? If we can't use it for that, what I've had Janelle trying to find out is there any opportunity on any of these sessions as they open up what the dollars are available for, to be able to use that to get 2 ambulances, because I think we need 2 ambulances very badly, okay? I am convinced they need to be replaced as soon as possible. So what we have is one pool of money that we had sitting in the infrastructure fund, sitting there thinking we were going to need it for the sewer project, a couple $1,000,000. And now I'm telling you, I think that's a ways off. So I think we should redeploy those dollars to something that benefits the community sooner, like now. And one of those areas could be paying for the road, or paying for some ambulances. And I don't care really if it comes out of the ARPA money or our cash reserves, but I think we need to put some of those dollars to work in the community.
Okay.
The other issue that's still up in the air is, we're out for bids now on the fire station. I was extremely confident when we started that the sale value I'm confident we can get out of the old fire station will fully pay for the new one. But now everybody I've talked to says the building materials, in particular steel, has gone way up. So Jim's doing the due diligence for us to validate what do we think the building should cost before we get the bids back. I'm just telling you, I'm nervous that because COVID delayed everything for a year, the construction costs for the new building may be more than what we originally anticipated, but I won't know until Jim gets done with his analysis. We look at the bids that come back and figure out what it should be, but we might need to put some money in to make the new building, because we're never going to have an opportunity to replace that, Station 1/MSP facility than we are right now. But so there's 3 different big projects all going on right now that we need to kind of figure out how to do it. And I want you to be thinking about that in the background, but I think that one way or the other, we need to get the fire department 2 new ambulances and get rid of a couple of them other ones before they die in place. And I think if this money could be used for paving, one way or the other, if we can use it for the ambulances, great. If then we could take some of the unused sewer money for a paving project if it happens to fall into place, or vice versa. That's all I'm saying.
All good thoughts. So, go ahead, Jim.
This is small comparatively speaking, but if we needed to repave the parking lot here at the township,
We can talk about that at the annual budget. We could do that.
okay,
I'm saying we're going to have a block of money that I said we need to hang on to this to see what happens on the sewer project. And I think the sewer project is viable enough to get it to the county line, but I seen how long that's taking. This makes a road project look like a walk in the park. Okay. So I think figuring out how to get it the rest of the way is potentially doable, but a much bigger hurdle to cover. And I think it'll take a lot more time to do it. So that will free up some capital funds that we have set aside in the infrastructure fund that we can do some other things.
From an emergent perspective, I'm thinking ambulance is at the top of my list.
Well, and mine too, because that's really, let's be honest, the fire department's main chore in the township is medical runs more than fires. We don't have a whole lot of houses that burn down. Knock on wood or steel or whatever it is, right?
Let them know there's one coming.
Yeah, okay. But I think we need a couple of ambulances, and it's kind of in the ballpark of the paving project.
Well,
So,
and it is in the amount about what they've already given us, 296,000.
Yeah, so
minus the 50 we're gonna spend on this, so.
yep, and Janelle's got another thing that she just passed this Kevin, because I think there's another grant that we got to look at that might have some, we might be able to get something there where we only got to pay 5 or 10% of it to get it. So one way or the other, we got to figure out how to work all this stuff that's going on right now to the maximum advantage for the township. And I think use some of those capital funds that we thought we might need within the next 12 months for the sewer project. That's now going to take probably several years to get it all the way down the road. That's a long shortest winded version of
Well,
what I
that-
think is gonna happen.
That definitely has the biggest impact for the residents.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, that the most use.
Yeah, I think Chief Mason's got, Janelle and I are gonna sit down with him, go over the budget year to date, kind of see where he is. I think he's got the costs pretty close now. We think they're a lot better than they were, and we think they're pretty close. So I'm feeling better about that, and I think we need to help here, get the ambulances in, because I don't want you pulling up and then the thing don't start.
That hasn't happened.
And that has happened, right?
Probably other station.
I know Barry's working on one you're gonna tell us in the fire report later, but I just wanted to set the seed on that so everybody knows kind of what we could be looking at here in the next few weeks to a couple of months.
So do we need to make a motion on the?
I think it would help to solidify this if we made a motion to respond to the RCOC letter. I'll say it if you want. I'd like to make a motion that we respond to the RCOC letter on gravel paving and indicate that we would be interested in pursuing Wildwood Road from Dixie Highway to as far north on it as we could go. Is there a second to that?
I'm happy to second it.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, could you take a roll call vote on it? Because it's significant.
Anjali,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Yes.
And what I'll do on this Cadillac asphalt one, I'll just copy them on our minutes when they're done, so they know what we did there, okay? We're not really obligated to tell them anything, but they're proactive enough to ask, so.
I view this as just a marketing letter from your estimator.
Yeah, I know. But sometimes
It's all right, respond.
getting
Yeah.
something through the surface funding committee is a dance. Okay? And sometimes having somebody like one of the main providers of those services, because they all, you know, it was Euphrates that did this one, they're all big contractors that do the federal job. It's beneficial to have a few people pushing and pulling from the other end too. I don't know these guys from Adam, but the more times it gets mentioned, the better the response is likely to be down the road when you actually get ready to do it. Okay. All right. Letter to RC, let's see, and if we took a vote on that, didn't we? Yeah, okay. See, short-term memory. Okay, the next item I wanted to discuss is the speed limit signs. You know, I sent everybody and told people in the past what we were trying to do is get permission from the road commission to post speed limit signs on only our paved primary roads, and the reason for that was I think some of those radar signs that you see like in the village are helpful at deterring some people who are perhaps unaware at times that they're speeding and more conscious about it. But the problem is you cannot put a radar sign up until you have a speed limit sign posted. And you can't post a speed limit sign on a primary road because they don't have a protocol for doing it. So I've been working with Danielle and Petrowitz at the road commission and said, I would really like to be able to post the few roads that we have that are paved, 55. And then we had discussed we'd end up buying some of those radar signs to help deter speeding. And originally she said, okay, which one do you want to do? And I said, do Barron Road. It was just about done. And that'd be a perfect one to try it on. And she wrote the letter back that I passed to all of you that said, oh, I think I misunderstood what he said, being her boss. And they want to do it on a road that's already paved because they want to traffic study the road first, put the signs up, and then come back and study it again and see if the signs had any impact at all. So when she said that, it kind of limits it for us. That means it really needs to be probably Grange Hall Road. So Chief Mason and I discussed it, and we figured maybe we'll go from Van Road here where the last 90-degree turn is to Josman Road. So that gives us a couple. Or
Mark at 50.
Trip Road is a separate road and it's marked at 50 because it's got more access points on it. So that would get us that. Yeah, Dave?
I got stopped on Grange Hall Road here a couple of years ago by a state police.
Really?
He was down in the valley and just.
Looking for you, right?
Yeah, he was waiting for people coming over the hill.
Yeah.
And 62. I had my cruise control set.
Yeah, a lot of people probably don't even realize it when they do it.
Yeah, he pulled me over and I said, it's 55 here, isn't it? He said, no, it's 50.
50.
It's not,
I said, well,
it's not. It's 55. The only piece that's 50 is Trip Road.
down by the church, it's posted at 52.
Is it really at the far end?
Yeah, I've lived out here for 14 years.
Wow, I never noticed it. Oh, because you're getting to the, close to the curve.
Right.
That's why.
Is it slow down?
Well, the curve is 45
Yeah.
or 35. Anyway.
Posted.
I said- Came to my window and I said, it's 55 here. And he said, no, it's 50. I said, 2-lane road, unposted, it's 55, that's a state law. Remember deaf and driver's training?
Yeah.
And he said, it's posted back there.
I know that's surprising because
I
but you know, there used to be a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit on the first part of Groveland Road. And I had a couple of people tell me, yeah, I pulled the guy over, I wrote him for a ticket going over 50. And I said, because I had the sign taken down, because I said, traffic study it, because people are going 50, they cross Jasmine Road and a miracle happens, it's 55 and it's the same road, right? And so they traffic studied it and came back and said, yeah, you're right, it should be all unposted. So when he wrote this guy a ticket, I said, you shouldn't have given them that ticket because it's really 55. A lot of them, I think, don't know. I'm surprised I never noticed that sign. I'll be honest
He
with
didn't
you.
give me a ticket.
That's
I said, I had a good driver's training.
But so.
I was shocked.
So anyway, they're gonna post it. If you saw the last letter she sent me the other day, or email, they're gonna post it from Van Road to Jasmine Road at 55, but they're gonna do a traffic study first, then they'll post it. They'll do a traffic study again, and then we'll get some idea whether or not, huh?
2 years.
And well, it could be. I mean, there's a limited number of them that do the traffic studies, but at least we've got something in the hopper to see if we can do something better.
So they're gonna post 55 of it?
How many signs are they gonna post?
They got a rule
mean,
for it. I
that's-
think, I could be wrong, but I think it's 3 signs per mile on each side. One at the beginning, one at the end, and I think they put one in the middle.
So how far is that from Van to
It's about 2
Jasmine?
miles. I
Like
think,
2
yeah,
miles,
I
maybe
think.
more?
Yeah,
2?
yeah.
Okay.
What
I
about,
think that's what,
I've had my hand up for a while. Can I say something?
sure,
Oh,
okay.
From Tripp and Grange, where the curve is, back toward Dixie is where you have some of your worst speeding. People are going at least 70, 75. I've clocked them going from the curve past my farm and toward Chin Court and past there. People, that is an insane amount of speed going on there, in addition to the double bottom gravel trucks and the motorcycles. Everybody guns it when they come around the corner as if it were, NASCAR. It would be really nice to have that part marked as well, because people think it's just open season out there.
I can't get them to mark all of them. This is a test that Bob DePalma finagled with the road commission. So we'll be doing good to get them, I think, to test this first piece and see if it gets anything and kind of see where that leads us.
Is the goal to see if we can or need to change the speed limit?
I think the goal is to see if posting it actually changes the driving habits of the people that go down the road. So if, in other words, if unposted, I'm picking numbers out of the air, they're going 60 and you post at 55, does it tend to slow them down or not? And I'm guessing if they say, and again, I'm only guessing now, but if they say they were doing 57 miles an hour before we posted it and they're still doing 57 miles an hour, we're going to have a hard time getting them to post the signs, even though I said we'd pay for it. So
strategically, we want the stretch of road in which they actually do a lot of speeding.
well,
That's the one that we
yeah,
want
but
to
we've
use
had
as our
people
test.
complaining on Grange Hall too. All the
And
way.
we've had people complaining on Oak Hill.
Right.
But Oak Hill is half in Springfield, and that's a whole other series of going back to Springfield and say,
From where it comes in at like Whiskey River?
yes, that's the south side of that whole road is in Springfield.
Oh,
Because that same gentleman you're thinking about complains to Springfield because the sheriff won't do anything.
so the north side of the road is Groveland and the south side is Springfield?
Yes, so in order to do a test like this there, you got to get Springfield to agree. You got to get them to agree. If we do get this, would you be willing to buy signs?
Oh.
And it gets very ugly very quick.
So Oak Hill's off, okay.
And Grange Halls are only full through roads, so it's a long stretch. It's 6 miles of pavement all the way.
Right,
So
right.
if we're going to get a sample, it's probably as good as any.
Yeah, I think people do tend to speed through there. So, I mean, if they're going to, but not everybody, but
No,
there are some that do.
and we'll find out when they do this.
Okay.
So I just wanted you all to be aware of what's happening on that.
Do we need to?
No, it was just an FYI information.
Okay.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is also mine, and that's, I got an invitation to this Power Connections. It's a seminar for people in the marijuana industry. And since I have a meeting with the township attorney Wednesday to see if we can get the ordinances that we've been working on teed up to the point where we can have a work session and then a public hearing on those ordinances. I asked our attorney if he wanted to go, because this is right by the attorney's office.
Mhm.
But he's going to be down visiting his 87-year-old dad is down south, so he can't go. I think this might be worthwhile to go, if for nothing else, to hear people in the industry, what they're thinking and what they might be planning for us. And I was going to suggest that, Jim, I don't know if you're going to be around, but it might, if you're interested, maybe both of us go to kind of double check what we're hearing.
What's the date, Bob? The 14th?
November 18th.
18th, 3 to 9 in the afternoon. Towns and hotels right downtown near
As
World.
far as I know, I'm around. I'll rework my schedule.
Okay, well, pardon? Okay, great. Well, can we, so my request is, can we have approval from the board to send me and either Chief Mason or Trustee Deputy Jim Christopher to this seminar with me to see kind of what's going on in the industry? And then it may add something to the discussions later. I just think it's a good opportunity because I've never been to anything cannabis related, so for me, it'll all be new.
I'm good, Bob.
Yeah, 3:45 each. And there's no overnight or anything because we just drive there. It's just in Birmingham. So that's my request.
So
Are you gonna?
we need to make a motion about that?
Yes.
Well, I'll make a motion that, we approve the funds to send Bob DePalma and one other individual, either Jim or Kevin, to the Power Connections seminar on Thursday, November 18th. in Birmingham.
Okay, and I know we got to do that fairly quick because I think there's an early discount on that that goes away. if we
I was
don't.
just gonna ask, I
Yeah.
looked through this, I
Yeah, I
never
didn't
saw
s-
an
I didn't
amount.
see it.
Yeah, I got another email today, something about
Oh,
early
okay.
discounts.
That's what
running
it
out, yeah.
All right.
So shall I cap it off with not to exceed, say, $750?
Whatever, yeah, the mileage and whatever the
Right.
2 attendance meetings are.
Then that would do it.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll support.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, Janelle, if you take a roll call?
DePalma,
Yes?
Beck,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes,
Israeli.
Yes.
Make sure you bring your notepad, take some good notes. You have to come back and share it with us.
Okay, no samples though, right?
No, no samples.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the mining permit bonds for the sand and gravel. You should have copies of all the minutes from the planning commission. I think it's pretty self-explanatory for the bonding amounts, but we need motions on each of those permits to approve them, subject to the necessary bonds. They're all in the same minutes, I think. Groveland Sand and Gravel is 470. Holly Sand and Gravel is 400, and American Aggregate is 400.
So 3 separate motions.
Yeah, or I'm sorry, the American Aggregate was also 407.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 400. Oh, here,
One
it
for
was
each
soil
one.
extension, bond amount 400. A motion was made by Shank. Recommended the township board adopt a bond of 470. So I'm sorry, 2 470s.
Well, wait, no, there's a,
Groveland Sand and Gravel is 470 bond. Holly Sand and Gravel is 400,
400
and
for the
American
west
Aggregates.
side of the
is
pit,
400.
and 600,000 for the east side of the pit. For
Yes,
Hadley sand and
yes.
gravel, yeah.
structure fire usually go to the
Oh,
Stinks.
So
I'll motion
You gotta
that,
do each one separately.
I'll motion to approve Groveland Sand and Gravel 2021 to 2022 mining permit in the amount of the bond amount of $470,000. It's kind of, okay,
Is there a second to that?
Gina.
Gina.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Hey, Janelle, if you take a roll call?
Beck,
Yes,
Bill,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Israeli. Yes. Palmer.
Yes. Okay, first one. I gotta do,
I'll make a motion, Holly, for Holly Sand and Gravel, 120 acres. And that bond amount is 400,000 for the west side of the pit and 600 for the east side of the pit for the 2021 mining permit season. 2021, 2022 mining permit application.
thank
okay,
you.
is there a second to that?
You could do the next one.
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions or comments? Janelle, roll call?
Bill,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Israeli.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes,
Beck,
Yes,
okay. Patty, you wanna do the?
no, you can do that. next one. Let's see
Yeah,
how
I'm
good
good
you are.
for American Aggregate, that the mining permit be approved for American Aggregate, that's the old Kurtz pit, for, in the amount of $470,000. For the 2021-22 permit year, yes, okay,
I'll second that.
all right. Any other questions or comments? Janelle, roll call, please.
Bill,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Israeli.
Yeah.
Palmer.
Yes,
Beck.
Yes,
okay, thank you. That's 3 mining permits out of the way now. They're getting easier. There's less of them and they're getting easier.
that's it.
Next, we're going to move to miscellaneous reports. First one, Patty, do you have anything for Holly area youth?
Yeah, they are going to do their toy drive as generally the way they did it last year, and I believe it was just people could go there and let me think, how did they put this? Members decided that family gifts will be packed and distributed similar to last year due to the COVID restrictions. So applications for that are gonna go out went out October 21st, 2021, with the deadline of November 30th, 2021. So if anybody knows someone who could maybe need this type of service or want some extra help at Christmas, you can call here and get a hold of me. I'll get you in touch with the youth assistants in Holly. Unpacking totes and packing family bags will take place on December 4th and December 11th, and the distribution will be on December 13th and 14th. And that's pretty much all I've got on Holly Youth Assistance.
Okay, thank you. Brandon and Groveland youth.
So Brandon Groveland Youth, I guess there is a meeting tomorrow at the library, which I'll be attending. I did not go to, well, actually, I don't think they had a meeting in October. Or, yeah, they didn't have a meeting in October.
I think COVID or something.
Well, I don't know that they had anything on their agenda, but at any rate, and tomorrow's agenda is kind of light, but they did sponsor 6 kids from, it's called Fuji, it's Future Generations program that meets on Thursday nights at the Sashabaw Meadows mobile home park. And they sponsored 6 teenagers from there to go to the Michigan Youth Convention at Mount Zion Church at a cost of $130 per student. The camp met the requirements of CDBG and the board of BGYA approved it. So they were very excited about that. They didn't spend a whole lot of funds last year because the COVID shut down most programming. So they were really looking at, what can they do? They really want to spend money on the youth. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is that Bob MacArthur, a longtime member of BGYA, was awarded the 2021 Citizen of the Year Award. at Septemberfest for his work with the youth through BGYA
Mhm.
and his dedication to the community of Ortonville. And there's a really nice article on the Citizen, at the Citizen. It was published, I believe, back at the end of September. I just went online and found it. And I mean, I'd read it in the paper when it came out, congratulating him. The article details some of his accomplishments. And I read it and I learned that he and his wife have lived in Ortonville all their lives, like born and raised here and so on and so forth. And he's done pretty amazing things to help kids over the years. So I think it's an amazing accomplishment. So congratulate Bob MacArthur if you see him. And that's pretty much it right now for BGYA.
Okay. Planning Commission, Jim?
You know, I'm going to defer to a fellow commissioner in the audience since I was absent. Sorry, Dave.
It's okay. We spent most of our time going over the new format for the ordinances, the rewriting the ordinances. That took up most of the meeting.
Okay. We're trying to simplify it so it's a little bit easier for everybody. Okay. BZA, Gina?
We did not have a meeting.
Makes for a short report, right? Okay. Super, I talked about a couple of these already. I mean, the Build America, the roads issue, the sewer, and what we need to do with some of our capital money and the need for a couple of ambulances. But the other two things that I think I should mention to you is we had a no-haz meeting today. It went very well. We had about 50 people from Groveland show up, which is pretty good. They had quite a few new people show up at the no-haz meetings. In the time that the no-haz group has been going on, we've now collected over 8 million pounds of hazardous stuff that's been disposed of the right way. So it's working pretty good. The fees are going up a bit because the recyclers that handle the facility for the county and us are raising their fees some, and there's really only one or two companies that even do it. The estimated cost for this year, and I have a report here, I'm going to give this to Danielle, she'll file it in the no-haz file, but you're welcome to look at it. It's pretty self-explanatory. The fee this year is about $3,200 or $3,300, or excuse me, about $2,900. The estimate for next year they think is going to be about $3,200 or $300. This program is well liked by all the participants that use it. We think there's a couple of new ones that might join in this year. So some of these numbers in here, you'll see caveats that say subject to whatever changes. She's just letting us know kind of how the program went. Pretty typical. Whitney does a wonderful job of giving us all the stats and figures on how much of this we collected, how much of that, how many people showed up, what our share of the cost is. And next year, it looks like they'll probably have at least 4 dates again. It's going to be 4/30, 6/4, July 23rd, and September 24th. And a possible 5th date, if a couple of the communities that say they're looking at going into it again are in there, and one of them is Brandon. We're going to raise the fee to non-participants to $75 because we've got to make sure we at least cover the cost of it. And it's roughly $66 or $7 a car that goes through there right now. So that's kind of what we're paying roughly to get through it. But the rest of the numbers are in here. You're welcome to look at it. This was a preliminary report. They will again send us the new contract for the next year and have it to us by January so we can vote on it. So, but if you want to see the nuts and bolts of it, it's all in here. And I just got this
We would still
today.
use our option to not charge the residents $75.
Yeah, all we charge. Yeah,
Right.
typically I just renew it at $10. It's just because in our case, if we don't, it ends up on the street corner here somewhere, and then I got to call the fire department, figure out how we get rid of it, right?
Do you have one for mattresses and stuff?
Only if you have them full of hazardous material, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted everybody to be aware, but that I was on the call for no-haz today, this afternoon, and I got the report, but if you want to see it, you're welcome to see it then. Danielle keeps that stuff because we've had so much correspondence over the summer on it. The other thing I wanted to let you know is I did go to the MERS seminar. And MERS, as you know, does our pension plan and hundreds of them in municipalities. It's kind of the de facto one because it used to be the state's own run pension system. It was pretty good. The CEO at MERS has these meetings once a year, kind of goes around the state, different places, and invites up to 30 people to talk to her. And I've gone to the last 2 or 3. And I've told her a couple of things that I thought MERS could do that would help, like vet a list of certified financial planners, even if they can't pay for them, at least give us a list that you have looked at that we could hire ourselves and feel confident that they're among the better ones. Because when you talk to them, they're all great, right? But, you know, I would feel better if they vetted it. And she's always said, yeah, we're looking at it, but it's at least another year away. The other thing that happened is they have had quite a few new participants in defined benefit plans because they're getting pretty popular with some people now, I guess, where they, you know, had kind of fallen out of favor for a while. So they're more, I think she said, I didn't get that number jotted down, but I think it was about 125 participants in it. The numbers have been pretty good on MERS the last couple of years, but she did indicate that one of the questions Chief had asked me about why did all of our attainment numbers drop a couple of percent this past year? It's because all retirement funds do an actuarial for the life expectancy of its participants every 5 years. And over the 5-year period, they found out that the average retired person was living a year and a half longer. So you can imagine, just in simplistic form, if they think you're going to live 10 years after you retire, and then the new study comes out and says, now you're likely to live 11 and a half, they got to pick up that year and a half more pension funding. And that's what affected it last time. Now, I did mention to her that I had heard on CNN that this past year, actually mortality rates got worse. Men died, I think, about 8 months shorter. And even women, I think, died sooner, but it was because of COVID, I guess. And she said, well, that'll be picked up in the next one. But we being retirement funds in general, feel that that trend of longer life is likely to continue. So maybe the next one will be a year instead of a year and a half when they average 5 years together. I don't know, but she thinks that's going to continue over time. And that's one of the things that drives the rate of return down. So that it used to be 8.5, then 775, 735. And she told us there's probably going to be another adjustment next year because of the mortality tables and the rate of return they see on investments. If you look at most pension funds, when they put the money in, roughly speaking, it might be 60% on stocks and equities of some sort and 40% on bonds, and they would get about a 4.5% historical return on a bond. Nobody gets that anymore. You know, they're paying like 1.5%. So she said, right. So there's that shortfall now, which they have to try and make up with equities without putting too much risk into the portfolio. And that's kind of what's driving the average rate down. So she said next year you might probably see another adjustment to that. I don't know, maybe it'll go from 735 to 7 or something. I'm only guessing. She didn't give us any indication, but that's kind of the bulk of what came out of it. Those two issues. It's the mortality tables, are people are living in on average longer. And because the bond market has been so bludgeoned for years now, that they don't get the same general mix of return that they used to before. So it was an interesting seminar, but I asked her that same question: when are you going to get us a list of certified planners? And she said, yeah, I remember you asked me that last year. I said, and the year before that too. You can help her with it. Yeah. So it was just it was that there were you could see that some of the people that were there for different communities, instead of keeping their pension funding solid, were down around 60%, which is like the real danger spot on it. And they were asking her, how come every time we try and get another percent or two ahead, then the new actuarial comes out and we're back down to 58 or 9, and it's because those life expectancies knocked it down a couple of percentage points. So those were the main things, the no-has and the MERS update, and then the other stuff we talked about, the Build America. There's some hope we're going to be able to use those dollars for different things that we can use out here. The status of the sewer project and the need for a couple of ambulances. So that's all I have for this month.
Okay.
Patty?
Yep, so the election took place last Tuesday. Brandon and Goodrich, both bonds passed, and we had approximately 693 voters. So that's about 10% maybe of our population. So the other thing is, I didn't put this on the agenda. Last year we had discussed and agreed to leave the porta potty out in the park.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I've let anybody know, but people have been very grateful to have that out there. So I was just going with the fact that we voted to leave it there, that we would do it again this year. If any of you think we
I
need to
think it's a good
discuss
idea.
it.
I
if you
think I need
we
to empty the
discuss
garbage
it.
can out there again.
Yeah, I do too. The park has really
Yeah.
had some, been
Bike groups and
used a
stuff.
lot. One
Bike-
night I left from here, it might have been last month. And they had lights strung and they were having, the grills were going. They were, yeah, using the park and during the day.
Look at the building.
Do they ever
Yes.
come in and tell
It
you
is
they want to
very
use that park?
active. No.
Because if they did, it'd be nice, we could tell them, hey, here's one of them big jumbo garbage bags.
Yeah.
And put it in there, because it's a nasty job
It is
cleaning
a
that
nasty
can
job,
up.
I have to.
And
I have to wear
appreciate
Levi's,
you.
Yeah,
Levi's
very
and my
much.
Black Mamba rubber gloves, because it's nasty.
Garbage can?
Yes,
Yeah.
oh, it's
There's
nasty.
two of them and they.
I've had a whole bunch of garter snakes in them and everything
Oh,
else you
yes,
could think
we've
of
had
in
that
there.
one time.
It's just nasty.
But that park is very well used all
trails
through
are
the
awesome.
day, you know, so we've had several groups come in and say, we want to thank you that you left that out there all year.
You know,
And
but
so
if you could, maybe
I
we
think it was
could
really a nice thing.
make a note and tape it to the top of that can. If you want to have a party here, please ask the township before and we'll give you a bag for the trash. Because if they leave it in the bag, I can get rid of it easy,
Right.
but when it's in that container, I'm just telling you, it's a
Oh,
nasty
wasn't there a
job.
bag in the container?
Well, there's a
Yeah,
bag
there
inside
is,
it, but it's,
But they overflow it or.
they jam it in, then you can't get it out, so you gotta empty the top third of it by hand just to get the container out of there. And it's so heavy because it rains in there, you can't hardly move it.
It does, it gets nasty.
You got a dumpster?
Huh?
Got a
Don't you have a
can.
dumpster?
We don't have,
No.
no, we just have a trash
Just a
can.
But maybe, can we put the can up top?
What do you mean?
Well,
the can up top?
We've got the roller can, like that the dump,
It-
that the truck come down.
Where do we
Might
put
be easier to
our
get a
trash?
dumpster.
Well, I'm just thinking, if there are people who are here, they may be more apt to put it in the can.
Oh. I don't, but here,
I don't know.
it seems like a good idea, but here's what I think will happen. Some will throw the junk in there loose, and there's a lot of nasty stuff in there. And then someone else will put it in the can. Now, to get the can into the roller can, I gotta empty the container out, which is not easy. And then I gotta get it into that roller can. So if you've seen me when I do it, I don't lift it up because it's heavy. It weighs a ton. There's usually about 10 or 15 gallons of water in it. You can't get out either. I do, but it still gets super heavy because it gets soaked, right?
Yeah.
So I end up rolling the big one down, flip the lid down, bind up the bag, drag it over to the lid. Then I take the lid and hump it up to the, shut it, and then I get under and pick the whole can up. I mean, it weighs a lot when it's full.
We can film
We
this.
might be able to do a video on this. And this month's video will be, we do empty the park trash cans.
It's only bad like that when people decide to have a big party. Then it fills up like in one day, and they never use the other can at the other end.
Maybe
Maybe we
we should cans and just put roller cans.
Take the other ones.
I
You
don't know if
that's a
the
thought.
trash company will pick them up. I guess we could ask
We
them.
can check.
Yeah, we should look.
We might be able to use our ARPA money.
It's a
that's
nasty
helping our
job.
Oh, there you
citizens.
go. ARPA money.
We
We
might-
might money.
4 bins with bin liners.
We might be able to use
Who
ARPA
does?
funds for that.
He recommends 4 bins with bin liners.
Bins with bin liners.
Okay.
Well, we
I
can certainly like look at some options, that's for sure.
Yes.
When does your garbage company come?
I usually empty it on Wednesdays because that's our casual day, and I found I have to wear Levi's because if I wear dress slacks, they will be skanky by the time I'm
You
done.
better wear a coverall.
Um,
I
But
think,
you can wheel
I
them
think
down.
Friday.
I think the trash comes Friday.
Do they only stop at one spot? on
They
the-
just pick it
Yeah.
up here at the side of the
One
building.
station on one.
Yeah, you could just wheel those bins down there and pick up 2 or 3.
We could try that, I guess. We'll have to get rid of the cans that are there, put them somewhere
Are
else.
the cans out there 55-gallon drums or something?
No, they're
No,
just
they're-
big square containers, and we put those giant
Yeah,
garbage bags in them. And people chug stuff in there till they can't get any more in it, and it's coming out the top.
But they have like the top and then the sides where you dump it in and.
And if it's rainy, they fill up with water and you can drag them out, but the water's nasty when you punch the hole and it doesn't all come out. So it's just a skanky job. It really is.
So the American Legion, I'm sorry, the Holly area veterans. God bless you. Their November 21st newsletter came out, or 2021 newsletter. And they are holding yogas held at the American Legion, Post 149, every Wednesday, starting at 7 p.m. and is free. Mike Patterson's in charge, and the numbers here, if anybody's interested.
What are they
We'll put
doing?
this on it's yoga. it looks
Yoga.
like. Yeah.
The veterans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. They have a vet to vet. And I'm trying, the next one is November 15th. The meal is free to all veterans, spouses, significant others, and families. We start at 5:30 and goes until 7. We eat first, and there might be a short presentation. There's always a lot of good conversation. If anybody wishes to join, bring a dish to pass, and that would be wonderful. Traveling Wall Project is slated for August 3rd through August 8th of 2022. It will be located at the Richter campus across from the village offices. And there's going to be a fundraiser for the wall on Friday, November 19th at the Vault, downtown Holly. Dinner begins at 7 and is followed by an improv entertainment group from Clarkston Village Players. There will be some audience participation involved in the program. Tickets are $40 per individual and $60 per couple. And there will be a 50-50 raffle and an auction. So they are inviting you to come out and support that. The library, they have a library and it's open. They have extensive collections for Civil War, World War II, Vietnam. In addition, extensive works on military aircraft. And they also have a sizable collection of DVDs and videos. There's no fee. Stop in and check it out. They are starting to look forward down to the future, and they're creating a building fund. They have 2 more years at the Richter Center. So they're thinking and planning for the future and what type of facility they're looking at. And then there'll be more information on that coming out in the future. Thursday is Veterans Day. Thank you to all our vets. I want to say thank you very much. And on Thursday, Veterans Day service at Lakeside. This doesn't give me a time. And also on this Thursday, renaming of the post office, VFW at 1 p.m. Veterans Day salute, Holly High School, 7 p.m. That's free. And on the 13th is the Valued Veterans Program, Holly Moose, 9 a.m. to noon. The 15th is the vet to vet dinner that I just spoke about a little bit. And then the 19th, the Traveling Wall fundraiser at the Vault. We'll go ahead and put this on the Facebook page, a copy of it. And there'll be some on the counter if anybody wants to come in and pick them up. The other thing I had here to bring up, and Chris is here with us tonight, I was going to let everybody know the Hadley Cemetery Association gave a president's report. And in there, it's a reminder, all summer decorations must be removed by November 15th for the winter months. And November will also be the fundraiser for grave blankets and wreaths for this year. So Chris, would you like to say anything more on
So
that?
we get the fundraiser sheets attached to our Facebook page.
Okay.
Apparently, supply things are not just building, but grave blankets are hard to come by, so they're not on the fundraiser this year. It's just wreaths and poinsettias. And the prices are a little more costly this year than they have been in the past. But in checking around, local greenhouses, they just can't get the items to make them. So it's limited. We can, I can send you the form if you want to
Yes,
add that. We've got it on our Facebook page.
yes, do that.
It's late this year because of trying to find out who can get what supplies and put prices on.
Okay. When are you gonna sell those through? When is the,
Probably the 15th, probably for another, and they can call me and say, hey, this is the order we want. Call the cemetery phone that's listed on there, and
okay, yes,
as long as I know the check's coming, I can order it ahead of time.
okay,
But we'll put a couple in, and again, it's not a lot. A couple wreaths and some poinsettias, 5+ blooms or 12+ blooms, and we'll place them. So we'll pick them up. There's a $5 charge. We'll take them out, and we will place them on the individual graves. So,
okay.
and then we want to thank you for putting our president's report on the township page. We haven't been able to have any meetings. And it's a lot of our families are older and they don't do Facebook or email or website stuff. So it's really hard to get the information out to them what's going on.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, we're happy to anytime you have something. We'll do what we can.
We appreciate it.
So the other thing I was going to say with elections, I don't know how this is going to work, but there's talk, instead of having a March or May, however it works, election, they're going to have a June one and then just the November. They're looking at eliminating that August election. So as that more information on that comes at us, I will let you know. I'll let everybody know what's going on. And we too had some cemetery issues that had to be taken care of kind of quickly. We had a limb come down in the cemetery, so Bob called the guy and it was pretty reasonable. We did have a couple of other people that gave us prices, but we were able to take care of it for fairly reasonable, and it's all done and fixed. So that's all I have.
That's quite a bit.
No, I had a lot to say, didn't I?
Teresa?
Okay, so in the treasurer's office, basically, we're just preparing the winter tax billing. The bills should be in the mail and arrive for the start of December. December board of review is in 5 weeks. It's just strange for me to say December board of review, 5 weeks, because we're already flying through November. And December board of review is basically for property owners that are seeking any clerical corrections or poverty exemptions. They can be made, appointments can be made, just contact me here at the township. And I wanted to compliment Chief on some prudent spending of that Life Pack 15. Because, we did approve up to like 11,000 and you spent less than 6,300.
62.7.
Correct.
Good
So,
And we got it in and it worked very well. It's actually a really nice machine for a rebuild.
so from a treasurer's point of view, well done, kudos.
Budget point of view.
Exactly. And then also there was something, and I would just like to ask the board, I'd like to attend a free training that's being put on by the MSU Extension Service. It's for the county's gypsy moth suppression and education program. And basically the Oakland County Board of Commissioners all voted unanimously to approve $250,000 to stop the spread of gypsy moths, and they're going to make this program of grants available. It came through this email that actually came today from Carolyn Kraus. I don't know if you guys all get this, because it's not the same one that their usual weekly updates, but at any rate, it seemed interesting to me because they're going to provide matching cost grants to cities, villages, and townships to mitigate the effects of gypsy moths out here in your area. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know how they plan to do it, but you can't apply if you don't go to their training. So it's sort of like that West Nile thing, right? You have to actually go in order to be allowed to participate. But we do have gypsy moth issues. Like that tree out there is covered in gypsy moths. And I don't know how extensive the problems are. And I do know that last year we had several people who called here wanting to know, is the township doing anything about gypsy moths? And we aren't, because it's not, something that we do. But I did come across this, and they are, it's a free training if you are a city, village, or township official. And once you learn all about it, then you can make a decision about whether you want to apply.
The
And
supervisors
what all-
talked about that at some length this spring, because
Oh.
some people had calls on it. The gist of it was, there were two reasons why we didn't do anything. We got 8,000 acres of state land. The state
Yeah.
doesn't do anything for it. And the other issue was, most of the communities that they interviewed said they sprayed for them.
Oh,
It was expensive,
okay.
real expensive. So that's kind of where it was now. Maybe she's got some other alternatives that are more effective. I don't know.
This is a 3.5-hour training.
Fire.
Fire, right? It'll have classroom and field-based sessions covering the history, life cycle, survey form completion, survey, field survey, and spray block identification, GIS mapping. I don't know. There's no commitment to anything.
The
It's-
GIS mapping was used for some communities because that's how they wanted to identify where it was worse. Addison had some area. that was
Okay.
bad.
So at any rate, it's next Wednesday at Oxford Township office, and there is space available still. If it's acceptable to the board that, I
Yeah,
just
fine,
go and
maybe it'd be
attend
something
and learn
good.
about it. It just could be something that, we might be able to do something about, or if we learn and go, well, you know what, that's gonna cost too much and it's gonna just put chemicals in the environment. I'm not all about that. So, but I just wanted to learn about it.
Yeah.
So,
I think you're gonna find there are two things that they talked about. One of them was if they spray for the whole area. And that's hard to do here because the state's not gonna do it.
right.
And the other one was for people that wanted to do it to protect their own trees. They did have some good hints on, I forget what it was, banding it with something would stop the moss from going up and down the tree, I guess is what
The
kills them.
trunks?
Yeah, so there were kind of, when you go there, I think you're gonna hear the two sides of it. If somebody wants to do this for their own property, here's some helpful hints on how you can control that. But the other one's probably gonna be, we liked it when Rochester wanted to spray the whole community. It was $148,000 or something like that.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to do anything like
Yeah.
that, that's for sure. But, it's education, and I could pick up something that,
Sure.
could share with the rest of the residents about if you're having concerns, because I do remember there were
Mhm.
numerous people who called wanting to know if there's something we do about it. And
Yeah, it was in different areas too. It was like worse here by the township than it was like by where I live. Did you?
I'm all for it.
Okay, so it's just, I think I'm gonna sign up for next Wednesday afternoon, if they still have room. They had 13 openings out of 30 when I looked today. So, okay, that's it for me.
Good. Okay.
No, because it's free. It's just exploratory.
With that, I'll ask if there are any public comments for anybody for the meeting today.
I just have a question. There's supposed to be a BZA meeting tomorrow, but there's no agenda. It's on the calendar.
I think it's just standing on the calendar.
Yeah, there probably is no business,
Yeah,
I'm
there's,
thinking.
yeah.
I have something
News
written
to
on my
me.
calendar and I can't remember what it is.
For
I think the
BZA?
BZA meeting is for us to. I'd have to look at my calendar, but I'm not sure it was a regular BZA
I was
meeting.
gonna, all right, I know that they have it, listed as the Tuesday after our
Yeah.
meetings, but I was not, I have no
Yeah,
minutes,
you
no
might be
agenda,
right.
no anything for tomorrow, so.
If you double check, if you want to call tomorrow, Danielle is the one that puts the agendas out. She can tell you what it is. I just
will.
can't remember what's on my
Yeah,
calendar right
I
now.
looked on the website and there's nothing on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hover over it.
I'm thinking.
It's not a pay-per-view.
I'm think there was.
Janelle, were there any questions from the audience?
Eve, did you have anything? I don't think so.
Okay, well, with that, I'll make a motion that we adjourn and reconvene for the fire board meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're reconvening here for the fire board meeting. Okay. Chief, the meeting is yours. We're all here. Let it roll.
Well, for October last year, we had 115 calls. That's up from 69 the previous year. If you look back, all the way back to 2016, we had 122 calls that month. So quite a few calls last month. That brings us to a total of 1,023 calls for up through October or November 1st. And currently we're at 23 calls this month now. I got quite a few things on the agenda today. One is discuss the disposition to the old ladder one. As you know, we bought the new ladder for $43,000 and it was much nicer truck. The old ladder, we paid $35,000 for it, I think, 10 years ago. It's 1985 or 87, I don't remember now, but I don't think we're gonna get any money for it because
Qualifies for antique place.
yeah. So the motor has a cracked sleeve on the cylinder, so basically needs a motor rebuild. We put a lot of money in it last year to get it, try to get it back on service, and put a new radiator, put a new water pump. It had a crack in this, in the head. They put a new head on because it was warped. So they did a lot of work, and I have to say that wasn't. That wasn't the original problem when we got it back last time. It wasn't a cracked sleeve, because it's completely different symptoms. So I didn't know what to do with it. But Barry told Bob that he'd like to buy it. He's got some new diesel engine mechanics that looking for something to do. So Barry and I talked about, he wanted to know how much I wanted for it. I said, Barry, I'd rather just you fix it. And then when we get the new station, you can park it at our station. You'll get it whenever you want, and I'll get extra points for another ladder. Because he wants it as a pumper. He says that sounds like a great idea. So I would like to recommend that we just transfer the ownership of that ladder to Barry Bass. He can fix it. It's going to cost 15 grand to fix it, and then he can keep it at our station. We can have another ladder. I think that's a win-win for all of us. And if it doesn't get fixed, I mean, it's probably only worth the scrap plate right now without his motor.
It's been sitting outside my station too.
Because that's, outside station 2, it did pass the ladder the last time. It passed the pump test last time. It's just the motor.
Just don't pass the moving
It
test.
just don't move. Right?
How would that work for insurance if we actually took it out?
I'm not seeing us using it very often because we have another ladder.
Sure.
The only time I would probably use it, and maybe this is way overboard, but when we get calls for the cats and the trees, it might be easier to get it out with that ladder than the other
Because it's
ladder.
smaller. Yeah.
And honestly, it's probably, the only times we'd use it. I don't see us using it very often, but I'm sure Barry and I could come to it, and we'd still probably have it tested just so we could say, yeah, it was tested and still passed. But it's what I'm at right now. I don't know how the board feels about it, but literally, if we tried to sell it, that's probably the best we could. If we brought up the repo cash, since you got a blown motor and you have to have a CDL in order to drive it. I mean, it would probably just sit there, and you saw the engine we bought for $4 grand was a perfectly fine truck. So I think we'd probably get $2-3 grand for it at all. And I mean,
I think it'd be worth it just to have it as a spare if we needed it, frankly. And Barry, I'm sure, would leave the lettering on it. So
lettering's not required either. So
I know, but it'd just be.
But,
No, it sounds like a great deal. I just would worry about liability.
and I mean, I think we're going to paying averages out about $1,000 a year for each truck. But, I mean, some parts are probably more loaded. But I mean, that's something I would discuss with Barry, obviously, before we finalize the agreement. But I would just, even if we don't have it, I mean, if Barry fixes it and keeps it over his place, it's something
It's still worth it.
gonna lease.
Right.
And because it's obviously better to park it inside the house. So I don't know if we need a motion or is it?
Yeah, I think we should have, I'll make a motion that we approve Chief Mason pursuing the discussions with Bedrock and Barry Bass to
Fix the
donate the old ladder truck with the understanding that he would fix it and we would either garage it or lease it as needed. How's that? Okay, so
I
second.
support that.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? There's really no money involved in it that way, so I guess all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. I think he's back from Texas, because he called me this morning.
41 is at Barry Bass's place. I asked him if his guys could take a look at it. We got from Mad Diesel, they looked at it and they think the same as we do. We think it's hydrolocked, which means the fuel is just dumping into the cylinder because it won't turn over. And it could be either a $2,000 repair or a $6,000 repair. So Barry's guys were looking at it, they picked it up. It was last week they picked it up. I haven't heard anything new on that, but obviously I don't expect Barry to do it for free, but hoping they can give us an estimate on is it worth fixing or not. That truck has 96,000 miles, which is for our ambulance fleet is relatively young. But, Alpha 4 has 207,000 miles on it. And it's still a backup truck. It's getting rusty though. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that they're looking at it. I have no information on that. We have a student that was doing ride-alongs with us. He's actually full-time for Lake Orion. And so I told him, I said, I could use some EMTs up here. So he had lost a couple of jobs that he did on the sides. So I would like to hire Justin Diener as a fill-in firefighter EMT. He's also doing his medic. That's why he's doing it with us. So we're actually hurting on EMTs now rather than the medics. So I'd like a motion to hire him.
I will make a motion to hire Justin Tyner as fill-in firefighter EMT medic.
Is there a second?
I'll second it as, with all his paperwork. And
We've
all.
already
I think
turned in
that's
his
understood.
application.
And I sent it. I already received back, they received it. They're waiting for him to do some answering. And I'm hoping tomorrow if I have a clearance.
Any,
It's because he's coming in for right along tomorrow, so I figured.
any other questions or comments? If not, Janelle, would you take a roll call?
Bill,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Musarelli,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Jack.
Yes.
Sunday, I got an application for a Kayla Reiser. She's lives in the township. She has no training. I met with her this morning. She's a dental hygienist. She wants her, I think it was her dad and her grandfather were both firefighters, and she'd like to become a firefighter. She lives on Groveland Road, and I'd like to motion to hire Kayla Reiser as a paid on call firefighter with no training as of yet. So we send her to fire school and EMT.
That's good because she's a resident.
We always want residents.
Yep.
That are more available.
I'll make a motion that we hire Kayla Reiser as a paid on call and we give her training as needed.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Not, Janelle, would you take roll call?
Christopher,
Yes.
Musarelli,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Jack.
Yes.
Yes.
We knew that, right?
We received the sign for sale sign for Station 1 on Friday. The lumber for mounting the sign out in front of the building came in today. So we're probably looking at starting that project tomorrow. We've been looking at new ambulances, and one gentleman we talked to, he said, oh, they're all about $250,000 now, which was a lot more than we thought. We contacted the company that built Alpha 7. He goes, no, they're not that high yet. So he pulled up the build order for Alpha 7. He says, I'll do this again for $140,000. Plus we have to throw another $20,000 in for a new cot, the new style cot.
The ones that can't tip over kind of
Right,
thing.
and then it becomes white, so we have to get it painted afterwards. So Bob had asked us to look into that, and we did, and Jeff did the research on it. He also said that if we just tell them that we're gonna buy one, they'll get started on it now. It's an 11-month lead time for a new ambulance. He said if we told him we're gonna buy one, that he would start without a deposit now, but I'm just giving you that information. So when you tell me, go ahead and order one, I'll order that. By the way.
I think we find out what happened on that grant that got forwarded to you today, and a little more on this ARPA money. We'll be ready to figure out what we want to do then. It's close.
Yeah. As some of you know, we had the Halloween party on the 31st. First time we've ever done that. We opened up the bay, pulled the ladder out, let the kids go in there, and
Just did a nice job on that too. You had a lot of decorations. there.
Candy, she had a lot of money invested in Halloween stuff. I mean, they had a 12-foot tall skeleton. We had the Grim Reaper out there, all these animatronic things. And we set up the smoke machine, but we figured we had about 50 kids and about 50 adults show up. So I thought that was pretty good attendance for that. And we gave out about 6 bags of candy. So, and then Teresa was there, and the animals were there with the trunk or treat. So
Oh, you were there.
I did, I gave out candy.
I didn't recognize her when she was standing. Literally.
It's because my costume was so good.
Yeah. We're going to do the Thanksgiving Day meals again, so we had a good feedback on it last year, so we're going to do pretty much the same thing this year. Stacy's working on, contacting the churches and places to see who needs them. We don't have any real detailed information yet, but we'll be doing that again this year.
Chief, I have a question. So that's actually Thanksgiving Day. You guys are preparing the meals and then you're delivering the meals already like in to-go boxes and stuff to the families.
Right.
Okay,
And we do have the state come in and certify our kitchen, make sure this.
okay,
And we did that last year.
yeah. Awesome.
We replaced the brakes on brush 2 and 487 and for a cheap price. 3/4 ounce. Done pretty good. We got a fuel leak on tanker 2. It's not a bad leak. It's the lift pump, the fuel pump that lifts the fuel up into the motor. We called Jam Best, and they tentatively came out with like a fee of about $2,300 to fix it. So we're looking into seeing. We think the pump is about $500, but it is complicated to get to. So we don't know if we can actually physically change it or not. But it's just something we might have to come up with, mid-month or something like that. We need to spend some money to get.
You ought to ask them what the labor estimate is on it. That'll tell you how many hours they think it takes to get to it.
They didn't look at it and sent them a picture, and they just said this is a ballpark figure. They were over on the estimate when we had the ladder repaired on cylinder repair. So we think they might be a little bit high, but still it's going to be more than $1,000 to fix it. But if someone fixes it. But that's just a heads up. It's still usable the way it is. It's just leaking a little bit of fuel.
It would hate to have a fire truck on fire though.
Yeah, but it's got 3,000 gallons, so it can put itself out. And the life pack
Really
15
threw the realistic
came in.
flames on it.
It's in good working order. We got it on one of the trucks. So we got life pack 15s in the 3 ambulances now. And I guess that's all I have.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, sounds like a pretty good month all the way around though, really. Anything else?
Any questions?
Just out of curiosity, the rescues and extrications, 74, how many of those were cats?
This year we've had probably, we had to rescue a dog and its tail was stuck in a reclining chair. The lady called the furniture company. They said it would be out in 3 weeks. Technically, it was in Springfield Township, but she came to the fire station. Roscoe and Maddox went down there, got the dog's tail out of it.
Poor dog.
I mean, you can't just, you're not gonna say, well, that's Springfield, where to go.
Right.
You trained for that?
Hmm?
You trained for that?
Yeah, we do. Paul, we'll do that on Wednesday with Paul. I got an email from I think a sales rep that said, I hear you guys say stage some ostrich. I'd like to talk to you about that. Wow, what an intro for, hey, oh, by the way, we sell insurance, but I mean, they must have read it on the website or something, but yeah, we saved an ostrich years ago. The,
I know where those
we got a couple of CPL classes going to be sponsored at Station 1.
Oh, yeah.
Really? Anyone, it's two of our guys, the one is Teddy Rydess. And then Butler's teaching one on the 20th and then the 27th and 28th, I think.
I might know a few people to meet.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I'll give you the details if you're interested.
If that's it, a motion to adjourn is in order.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Good meeting.
Come on.
Thanks.